All right. Hi, everybody. It's Mr. Stevens. Tonight's homework, November 19th, was really to watch this video. We did go over these in class, although I think these are great preparation for Friday's tests, which will be mostly percents. So I'll take you through these and answer them, but also talk about, maybe a couple of different ways they could be answered. Because part of what makes percents hard is there's so many different ways to do it. A lot of these questions are not hard, but how can you express 1/4 as a percent? Brainpop writes fractions typed that way, but we started with this and we said to turn a fraction into a decimal, the one on top jumps inside, then you just divide. Obviously, 4 can't go into 1, but 4 can go into 10 twice. 4 times 2 is 8. 10 minus 8 is 2. Add another 0. Bring it down. 4 goes into 25 times. 0.25, how do you change it to a decimal? We're going from, into a percent, I'm sorry. We're going from decimal to percent. So we move it to the right, 2 places, 1, 2. The answer is 25%. Most of you realize by now 1/4 is 25% without any mathematical trickery whatsoever. So, don't be afraid to write something like this on the test because it shows me that you understand it. That's all the work you would need to show. All right, number 2 is how can you express 20% as a fraction? That symbol, percent, means out of 100. So 20% is 20 out of 100. Not a choice. It can be simplified. Now remember, whatever you do to the top, you have to do to the bottom. I'm thinking that 20 goes into 100, so I'll divide the top by 20 and get 1, and divide the bottom by 20, and I know 2 goes into 10 5 times. So 20 goes into 100 5 times. The answer is 1/5. Box those answers, guys. Makes them stand out. All right. Number 3, what is 25% of 32? The easy percents are 100%, 50%, and 25%, not to mention 10%, although we don't need that here, and maybe even 5%. Think about what you do to the 100 to get these other numbers. 100 divided by 2 is 50. 100 divided by 4 is 25. So once you know what 100% is, it's easy to find the other ones, especially for an even number like 32. What's half of 32? 16. What's half of half? 8. 10% divided by 10 doesn't come out even with this one, right? 5% would be half of that. We won't worry about it because we don't need it. The answer is 8. Most of you know, though, that these are the easiest type of questions. Percent of a number. Change the percent to a decimal. 25% is 0.25, and multiply. And you'll get the same answer. Works every time. Every time that they ask for percent of a number. All right, number 4, 75% as a decimal. 75% means 75 hundredths. I could divide. I don't have to because after the decimal point, the first place is tenths, the second place is hundredths. So to write 75 hundredths, all right, 0.75. Do you need the 0 in front? Not really, but there it is. Remember, percents are always out of 100. All right, number 5, word problem. Word problems always throw everybody off because you have to read them to find out what you have to do. If you spend 2 hours playing sports after school, hang on just a second. Okay, I'm back. If you spend 2 hours playing sports after school, what percent of your day is devoted to sports? Use 24 hours as the length of a day. Always pull the numbers out. There's really two numbers here, and they're looking for a percent. We don't know what the percent is. We're trying to find out. But we know that it's 2 hours out of 24. Somebody asked me how come sometimes I make the 2 with a loop and sometimes not. I have no idea. And when I write it twice, I almost always do it both ways. I don't know why. 2 out of 24 is really close to 2 out of 25. And I know that 25 goes into 100 4 times. So if I multiply the bottom by 4, I just multiply the top by 4. So I'm thinking the answer is about 8%. So I'm thinking it's a B. Now, if I wanted to find the exact answer, I could set up a proportion. 2 over 24 equals something over 100, or x over 100. Cross multiply and divide. 200 divided by 24, I'm guessing is about 8, right? So either way you want to do it, I mean, if there's a shortcut, use the shortcut, you know. Show your work. You know, obviously this is enough work. Even one of these would be enough work. The other answers aren't close enough to be right. All right, number 6, 10% of your day. 10% is great because it's so easy. How do you get from 100% to 10%? Divide by 10. So if 100% is the whole day, that means 24 hours is the whole day. So if they want 10%, we just divide by 10, which is the same thing as moving the decimal over. 10% is 2.4 hours. Is that the best way to do it? Maybe not. You could just say 24 times 0.1. Really, you don't need the 0. 4 times 1 is 4. 2 times 1 is 2 with 1 decimal place. Percent of a number, right? Remember, change it to a decimal and multiply. Number 7. I love this question. You eat a quarter of the pizza, so that's 25%, right? You eat 25%. The dog eats an eighth, so that's 1 slice, right? So that's an eighth. How much is left? Well, if you think about it, if you ate half, that would mean you had 50% left. We have more than 50% left, right? So our answer has to be more than 50%. I love that the dog only ate a slice. My dog would jump up on the table when I'm not looking and eat the whole pizza, but if he could get it away from me before I ate the whole pizza. You know, I had a friend, Sean, that once took a pizza and rolled it up like a burrito and ate the whole thing. Pretty impressive. Anyway, it can't be 50% because it's more than 50%, which means it can't be 8 or 40. The answer has to be A. Now, we could figure it out exactly, but it's a multiple choice question. Thinking about how much time you have, that's a good question to say, hey, wait a minute, it's more than half. There's more than 50% left. The answer is A. Moving on. How can you convert a fraction to a percent? All right, so say you had 1/2. There's a nice, easy fraction. How do you make it into a percent? Well, what are percents always out of? 100. What's this called? A proportion. Cross multiply. What's 1 times 100? 100. So that means that 2 times whatever the answer is also has to be 100. So the answer to this one would be 50, but the answer to this question is make a proportion and solve by cross multiplying. Another way you say that is cross multiply the numbers that are across from each other and then divide by what's left. All right, 100 divided by 2 is 50. Cross multiply and divide works every time, assuming you set the proportion up the right way, which is really hard to do. So do this as a last resort. Cassie bought a new sweater at the mall. Its original price was $60. Pull the numbers out. But there was a 10% discount. How much did she pay? Oh, okay. So here's the mistake everybody makes. They say, oh, 10% is really easy. Just multiply by zero point 0.1 or 0.10. Oh, yeah, it's $6. Or just say, yeah, $60 is 100%. So how do I get to 10%? Divide by 10. 60 divided by 10 is $6. Oh, she paid $6. What a great deal. It's a discount. It's a discount. That means they're taking that much off of the original price. So $60 minus $6, you got it, $54. Good question. Remember, discount is off the original price. Another way to solve this would just say, all right, if it's 10% off, that means she's only paying 90%, 0.9. Drop the 0. 9 times 0 is 0. 6 times 9 is 54. There it is, $54. Either way. Last question. 20 is 80% of what number? 20 is 80%. 20 equals 80% of what number? They want us to find 100%. Now you could say, okay, I've got a proportion. 2,000 or 20 times 100 divided by 80, and that'll be the answer. Okay. Maybe you don't want to divide. You know that 20 is 80%. That means you also know what 40% is. 40% is half of 80%, so half of 20 is 10. Half of 40% is 20%. And you're thinking, why am I going the wrong way? Well, because I can do this in my head. Half of 10 is 5. So now, if I already had 80%, and I know that 20 is 80%, and now I have an extra 20%, 80% and 20% makes 100%. 20 and 5 is 25. So that means that 20 is 80% of 25. Let's just make sure. 25 times 0.8 for 80%. 5 times 8 is 40. 2 times 8 is 16. Plus 4 is 20. There it is. Yes, 20 is 80% of 25. Best way to do it? Maybe, maybe not. Again, I'd be careful with the proportions. I would rather you do what I did, because when you're in the store and you're shopping, that's more likely to be the way you're going to do it. All right, you've watched the whole video through. I told you if you watched, there'd be a bonus of some kind. Here's the bonus. I'm going to use some of these questions on the test. There's no way you could get these questions wrong if you watch this whole video. All right? Those of you that did watch it and up to this point versus those of you that just fast forwarded to the end, because I always slip it in at the end, go back and watch it. You know, it's not just these problems, it's problems just like these. All right? Thanks for watching, everybody. Sorry it took so long. Hope you like it. See you later. Math 6 and 6 out.